This is Geek Gab with your hosts, Dorrinal, Brian Niemeier, and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. That's right, it is a special edition of Geek Gab. Happy Halloween to everyone tuning in. We have a special guest in the virtual studio today. Bacon Man, would you like to say hi to the audience?
I would love to say hi to the audience. Hello to everyone, and Professor F, I hope you tuned in like you promised.
Let's see, what is it we usually do at this point, right? We recap our week. Brian, how was your week?
My week was excellent, got a lot done. Still working on my second novel, and I'm over the hump on it, so I'm pretty excited.
Oh, you're writing a second novel. That's awesome. What's it about?
Okay, it's mainly space opera. I do some genre bashing. There's some sci-fi, fantasy, and horror elements. And whereas the first one was more of a straight adventure story, this one actually focuses on a romance angle. So that was interesting to write.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I had a lot of help from my editor, L. Judgy Lamplighter.
I could use an editor.
Yeah?
Did you say your editor is judgy? Because that seems like a good quality for an editor.
Of course, she pronounces it more like Jadgy, because she's from New York, has a charming accent. But yeah.
New York City?
No, somewhere New York State. I gotta ask her.
I am a fellow New Yorker. I'm a Bears fan from New York.
That's kind of unusual.
It is, but I was an '80s kid, so growing up, the Bears were. I just kind of fell in love with them around '83 when they had Walter Payton and Mike Singletary, and we won the Super Bowl in '85, and ever since then I've just been.
No, it was the song. That's really why you became a Bears fan, wasn't it?
I can honestly say I have done the Super Bowl shuffle. There were beers involved, but I've done it.
So now we have fully half the show is football fans, and I am a provisional football fan as soon as I can resolve my Oakland Raider Washington Redskins dichotomy.
You're a fan of both teams? Is that the problem?
I like the Oakland Raiders because I think the silver and black are the best colors and it makes for the toughest team. But the Washington Redskins, being a Redskins fan, would make a lot of people angry that I would like to make angry just anyway. So it's kind of hard for me to ignore the emotional tug of Washington.
That's true. I do root for the Redskins only because of that.
I found the best nickname for the Redskins. Actually, my wife did on a comment board. Someone called them his team, the Washington Redacted.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty good.
So, how was your week, John?
Pretty good. We've had this is not the setup that you'd think, but we actually had no internet last week.
Oh,
Due to some technical difficulties. I'm just the weekend. That sounds like an awful start to your weekend. However, I used that time to relax, and I did a little planning for my D&D game, and I read through the new Jim Butcher novel, The Aeronaut's Windlass.
oh, that's right. You told me about that. That was the only reason you had time to read it is because you were off the internet.
Yeah, sure enough, this weekend started off. I knew that we were going to do the Gab. I knew that that I wanted to do a couple of other things before Halloween tonight, and so I ended up sitting in front of my computer all morning. When last weekend I casually read, and that was kind of nice.
Well, you guys all accomplished something this week. I didn't do anything. He said, "What are you guys doing this week?" One guy's, "Oh, I'm writing a novel." The other guy read a novel. I said, "Oh, I watched some movies, played a couple games."
Yeah, that's my usual weeknight thing. The D&D game is still going. 2 sessions since we had our last Gab with the little clinic that you guys put on for me. That's been a lot of fun.
Did you try any of the suggestions?
Yeah. The one thing that I really did was I went back to getting my players to talk about their characters and their characters' motivations.
Okay.
After doing that, I didn't need to implement any of the other drastic measures that you suggested.
Okay.
It just starting off the game session with that got everybody in character and interested in playing.
All right. But you had something kind of bad happen, though, you were telling. Do you want to mention that? Is that okay? Mention on the air?
Something bad. Jog my memory.
With the game, a player who was rules lawyered you, if I remember correctly.
It wasn't really that bad. It was just the way he was asking questions and talking to me and bringing up my mistakes with the rules. Just reminded me of the way I am a player, and so it's one of those things where your parents always said, "Oh, I hope you have a son just like you," or "I hope you have a daughter just like you." That's what it felt like.
Okay. So my week, what I actually accomplished this week, I played a couple of games, I watched a couple of movies, but what is most important about that is which movie I watched in particular. And I saw a lot of movies last week because I was sick as a dog and I couldn't do anything else. But the one movie I saw, I had a brother of mine drive into town from like 5 hours away, and so we hung out and we watched a movie, The Raid Redemption, which I have been promising to watch for 2 years. And I didn't tell you that 3 weeks ago, it came on sale on the iTunes Music Store for sale for $7.99. So I bought the Raid Redemption and I bought Raid 2. I was going to tell you about it on the air and I forgot, and it's just slipped my mind every show we've done. So you knew I was going to watch it because I actually spent cash money. But then again, I've spent cash money on 100 different movies that I haven't had a chance to watch right now that are just sitting in my iTunes music library taunting me with money that I have spent but not enjoyed. So it could have been a long, long time till I got around to watching it, but no, Friday my brother came into town and I said, "Hey, you know what we ought to watch?" And he said, "What?" And I said, with no surreptitious motivations whatsoever, I said we should watch The Raid Redemption because I think it'll be fun. He said, "Oh, really? Why do you think it'll be fun?" I said, "I had a friend tell me it would be fun."
I wanted to see that. That's South Korean, isn't it?
Indonesian.
Indonesian, yeah.
Indonesian, okay.
And it was a great movie.
We're good.
Yeah, tell me about it. Now, this is interesting because I think it is the best action movie I have ever seen, with the possible exception of the recent John Wick. And you've seen them in the opposite order. You already saw John Wick, so I'm curious to hear your perspective on The Raid Redemption.
Well, see, here's the thing. We watched The Raid Redemption Friday night, and then Saturday we watched John Wick. So...
I love John Wick. That was fantastic.
Oh, yeah, John Wick is just... It's
so much better than I thought it would be. And I'm really not a Keanu Reeves fan. I've always thought he was sort of a wooden... not a very good actor, but I love that movie.
I just noticed so many things the second time watching it that I didn't notice the first time around, because the action just comes at you so fast that there are things they've done with the action that are just incredibly impressive that you don't notice until you watch it again a second, or at least I didn't notice until I watched it a second time. Okay. Brian was going to say something and I accidentally talked over him. Did you... let me back up before I jump into my mini review.
I say accidentally? I mean, talking over people is sort of the way you live.
It comes from years and years of being game master.
No,
That's not true. I had him on my show and he was extraordinarily polite.
Oh, I see. Only for us. Now that was my turn to talk over Brian. What's going on?
Raid. Good.
No, you were saying something. What were you going to say? Or should we go on?
Go on. I'm just having fun listening to this.
Okay, so here's my review of The Raid. I'll give a quick recap. The Raid is what Peachtree, which became Dread, was apparently ripped off of. That's not actually quite true because Peachtree Dread was based on another story, but they share a lot of similarities. You have a large group of police, hard armed in Kevlar vests, helmets, guns, ready, loaded for bear, bust into a building that's controlled by one crime lord to capture the crime lord and bring him to justice. So they go into the building, things go to pot, and the cops are left to fight their way out.
That does sound like Dread.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it has a lot to do with Dread. I mean, it has a lot of overlap with Dread in a lot of ways, but not cinematically and not stylistically. Dread had a lot more. It's a lot more kinetic, and it has a bigger budget, so it had a lot of all those shots with slow mo and all that, which is really cool. I mean, I'm not dissing those. It's just the Raid Redemption is far more brutal. It's far more visceral, and it has a much lower budget, so it is dirty and gritty in ways that even Dread, which is infamously dirty and gritty, just couldn't quite match.
By the way, I would say that Dread is probably one of the best remakes, or maybe the best remake. It's better than the original.
Oh, it's far better than.
Oh, by far, yeah.
Yeah, I would stick Dread in my top 5 action movies of the last decade.
That's high praise.
Seconded. It's great. Love it.
It is. It's fantastic. Motion carried.
Actually, I think I think we just talked about the top 3 action movies of the last decade being John Wick, The Raid, and Dread.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and think about it, but I can't think of anything right now that I would put above Dread. I know it's in the top 5. There might be something else I'd put above it, but not that I can think of right now.
Carl Urban's fantastic.
Oh, and the door thing, man! I did not see that coming. That was brutal.
I guess if you're saying in the last 5 years, I would say, fine. But there's a movie that a lot of people didn't see because he's older now, but the very last Rambo was a pretty damn good movie.
See, I wouldn't even. This is just my bias. I would not call Rambo 4 an action movie. There was a lot of violence at the very end, but I would actually call that a drama.
I could see that. It was 2008, so I guess it's 7 years ago. But yeah, I can see why you would say that.
But yeah, it was an incredible movie. I loved it. I thought it was a great movie.
The first one, the same way. If you say Rambo, everyone thinks action movie, but the first Rambo was not an action movie. It was more of a dramatic piece than anything.
Yeah, and when it became action, it kind of went downhill. It wasn't as good.
It was the first time we saw what's the guy, David Caruso, right? That was his first movie.
Oh yeah, he was the deputy.
Yeah.
Was he the one that punched him in the cell?
Yes. No, he was the one that didn't want it to happen. He was like the reluctant, and then he got killed in the woods. Yeah, he got stabbed by the tree, I think, in the wood, the tree trap or whatever you call it. That was before NYPD Blue. That's the first thing he did before that.
Now help me out with the David Caruso history, because I don't recall him being in that movie. But do you recall in the scene right before he was killed, was he able to get his sunglasses on before that happened?
Yeah. There were actually no sunglasses in that movie. It was in Seattle. It was raining all the time. No one had sunglasses.
So yeah, Rambo 4 also a very, very intense movie. Great movie. One of the Expendables. I would put one of the Expendables up in the top 5, maybe 1, maybe 3. I'm not sure, but I would not put it above Dread.
Yes, the Expendables were. I loved them. I loved all of them. I'm an '80s guy, so when you gather '80s action heroes into one movie, there were so many great names, and the first one was fantastic.
I did not like 2. I hated it.
I didn't hate it. I mean, for one thing, Chuck Norris was in it, and they did all the Chuck Norris jokes. I mean, how do you not love that?
Yeah. The airport scene was awesome. That was great.
Yeah, it was great. And Bruce Willis was too much of a greedy jerk to appear in the third one. Otherwise, I think that would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
But Mel Gibson did a great job. It was a good comeback for him.
And Han Solo did a great job, too.
I loved, Harrison Ford being in that just put it over the top.
So, okay. So that's my opinion of the Raid. I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. It's a lot of action, a lot of brutal action, and watch for what he does with the door, because that is, it is beyond. It's just.
I'm going to check it out now because I've never seen an Indonesian. I've been somewhat obsessed, and I always sound snobby when I say it, but I've been somewhat obsessed with South Korean movies lately. And so I've been looking, I saw one from Scotland last week. It was great. I've watched a lot of South Korean films in the last year, like The Man from Nowhere and I Saw the Devil, which are both amazing movies.
I was going to ask if was gonna ask if you'd seen The Made for Nowhere because Larry Carrillo was on a while ago and he recommended that. And best
It's
snipe fight
fantastic.
ever.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's kind of a slow burn, but when it gets going, when it builds up a head of steam, wow.
It has to be good for me to watch it too, because I mean I know it's lowbrow, but I can't stand subtitles. So if I watch a movie with subtitles and I love it, that's saying something.
I'm just glad Larry's not the kind of guy who would need to remember that I promised to watch that movie and I haven't yet.
Well, he's on book tour right now, so he's a little too busy for reprisals. So you have a chance.
Excuse me, you promised to watch a movie I recommended and you haven't yet.
No. I said I would watch it if I had time. I have not had time. I am busy. But speaking of which, we are, well, not we, our guest, our special guest is now contractually obligated to mention this movie, and not because he's getting paid. He does it for free.
That's right, I do it for free. There's one of the things that I love about Netflix, and there aren't a lot of things left because, in my opinion, Netflix is turning into just another network where there's fewer and fewer new releases and good movies, and there's just more of their original programming, which it's fine. Their original programming is great, but I just think, to me, they're just kind of turning into FX light. There's just not enough. They don't have enough good movies anymore. But I stumbled across one last week. One of the things I love about Netflix is stumbling across a movie that is, like a hidden gem, something I never would have seen. It happened to be recommended in my feed. So there's a movie called Let Us Pray. Prey. And also, I find this amusing because when I tweet about this movie, Let Us Pray, I get like Catholics and Christians and people favoriting the tweets and direct messaging me and talking about Christ. They don't take the time to read and see that it's Prey, pray. So they must think it's some kind of a religious tweet. But the movie's called Let Us Pray. It's from Scotland. The director is Brian O'Malley. He hasn't done very much that I can see on IMDb anyway. The director is Brian O'Malley, and it stars Liam Cunningham, who you would know from Game of Thrones. And it's very atmospheric, and it's very unique. And basically, what it's about is a man shows up in a small town in Scotland and at a very small, out-of-the-way police department, kind of a rural area, and he winds up, during the course of the movie, sort of preying on the fears or taking control of the minds of or seeing into the heads of the police and the other people that are incarcerated with him. There's like 4 other prisoners, and it's really hard to describe without giving spoilers, but I will just say that it's a horror movie. It's unique. It's very atmospheric. It's very well shot, and the performances in the movie are fantastic. It is absolutely worth a watch. It's from 2014, so if you can look it up, if you have Netflix, I highly recommend looking it up.
So is it like a psychological horror movie, or is it a monster horror movie?
I would say it's more of a psychological horror movie.
Good. Hey.
More than a monster movie. If I could tell you who he is, but I would give away the end if I did. So I won't say who Liam Cunningham is, but he's the mysterious stranger. And during the course of, like, for example, the IMDb description is pretty simple. It says, in a remote police station, a mysterious stranger takes over the minds and souls of everyone inside. So, and they all, of course, all the police and all the prisoners, they have secrets, and he knows what they are, and he preys on those over the course of the night. So it's fantastic.
So, Bacon, knowing now that you like horror movies and South Korean movies, have you ever seen...
Ever seen what?
Tell Me Something. It's a South Korean thriller, horror, murder mystery movie.
Tell no one? Or, I'm sorry, I didn't get the name of it.
It's Tell Me Something.
Tell Me Something. It doesn't sound familiar.
I recommend it. It's often called the Korean Silence of the Lambs. I'd have to agree.
Really?
Yeah, check it out.
I think that I would have described I Saw the Devil sort of that way, but yeah, okay.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Tell Me Something, 1999. I will watch it.
Cool, man.
So no spoilers, but the wife and I, speaking of horror movies, we're planning on seeing Crimson Peak tonight to celebrate Halloween. Has anybody seen that yet?
Yes. Yes, I
I've
have.
seen it. Yes. Well, that's a good topic. What are your? Do you have any movies that you watch every Halloween, like traditionally?
I
Me?
don't.
You don't. What about you, Daddy?
Oh no, I have a short attention span. I don't do anything on a yearly basis.
I'm not going to call you Daddy anymore. I'm just going to say Warpig. It just sounds creepy.
That is a popular adaptation to that name.
So here's my confession. I generally watch the original Halloween. I'm an enormous John Carpenter fan. I generally watch, and I know you're going to say it sucks, but a lot of people do. But I love the remake, House on Haunted Hill, which I think is from '98 or '99. That's one of my favorites. I watch that every year.
Is that the one with Liam Neeson?
No, it's not Liam Neeson. It's Famke Janssen, I think.
Oh, okay. The wife from the Taken movies.
Yes, the wife, or from X-Men.
Yeah,
X-Men? GoldenEye?
GoldenEye. Yep.
But I was going to say, I do that too. It's not every year, but whenever I remember to, I like to
Jeffrey
put
Rush.
on Halloween. I like to put on Halloween like right around sunset and just.
I love Halloween. I will never miss. I watch Halloween every year. So it's Jeffrey Rush, Famke Janssen. I might be saying her name wrong and sounding like an idiot. I don't know. And Chris Kattan, actually, from Saturday Night Live, and is the only time I've ever seen him in a semi-dramatic role.
Oh, please tell me he gets murdered in a gruesome fashion.
He does. So it's definitely worth watching. But it's a guilty pleasure, you know what I mean? It's not a great movie. No one's gonna watch it and say, "Wow, that was amazing." But for me, for some reason, the atmosphere is great, and it's just fun. It's just a fun movie. I like it.
So does it remind you of Crimson Peak?
No, not really.
No.
The original movie was Vincent Price, and it was very good. But it's a black and white older movie, and
Yeah, I've seen it.
yeah, it's just to me that one is great, of course, because I love. Who doesn't love Vincent Price?
Yeah.
But it's just not. I don't know. It's not as creepy for some reason to me.
For Dorrinal's benefit, and Bacon might agree, I liked Crimson Peak because I love what Del Toro does with the visual language of film. It's just that every single frame is just full of, the best way to describe it is meaning. Like everything that you see on the screen means something. Like even the color choice. He kind of succeeds where Shyamalan failed with the color thing.
Oh, I don't think Shyamalan failed. Are you talking about The Sixth Sense?
Yeah, with the
He
red.
has some pretty deliberate. Yeah, I don't think he failed there. I mean, I thought that was an
I thought it was a
amazing
bit too
movie.
ambiguous, but okay. We can disagree.
Del Toro. You're talking about Del Toro.
Yeah, I think Del Toro does it better.
I think. Well, my personal opinion is Del Toro's seminal work was Pan's Labyrinth.
It's a very creepy movie.
I really love that movie.
I was going to mention it as one of my favorite horror movies. I'm actually not a horror movie guy, but so my favorites are actually Pan's Labyrinth and, if you'll allow the slight stretch, Alien.
Yeah. I like Devil's Backbone.
Devil's Backbone was good. That's very good.
I also like Pan's Labyrinth. I mean, you pretty much have to.
Devil's Backbone that was a foreign movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's Spanish language.
Yes, yeah. That was an excellent movie.
Your two favorites are Halloween and The House on Haunted Hill.
I wouldn't say that they're my favorite horror movies. I would say they're my favorite movies to watch on Halloween. It's just a tradition. Those are the two I always watch every Halloween.
So what are your favorite? Pick two of your two favorite horror movies.
Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'm an unabashed Wes Craven fan. I love everything Wes Craven's ever done. So I would say Nightmare on Elm Street, and to be honest, I think I might go and say The Conjuring.
Which you haven't seen but is in my queue.
What about Serpent in the Rainbow?
I did like Serpent in the Rainbow. A lot of people hate that movie for some reason, but I did like it.
Man after my own heart.
Wes Craven, one of his early movies is just so unsettling and brutal, and it's not supernatural at all. Last House on the Left.
Yes, and it was remade horribly.
It's just one of those 1970s raw, visceral, tiny budget horror movies with just real menace. I mean, you could just feel the menace rolling out of your screen when you're watching it. People
Yes.
nowadays, it's just too safe to watch horror movies. You don't feel like anything could happen. In the 70s, the people who made them, you knew anything could happen, and there wasn't any safety anywhere, and so anything could happen. Like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, oh, it is all of the things that duplicated it that came later just can never capture that feeling of. It is a feeling of having left a world of sanity where you know the laws and you know how things work and you're safe. Even if things are somewhat dangerous, you're safe.
Yes.
Once these teenagers enter that world, enter Leatherface's world, all of that safety, all of that surety, even guessing what you might be able to do, that's just all stripped away, and they inflict that on the audience.
Well, for one thing, all right, I'm going to take one thing back. I'm going to substitute The Conjuring with Insidious, just as a James Wan is incredible.
Yeah.
I loved Insidious, and going back even farther than that, one of his earlier works that no one ever saw that I loved was Dead Silence.
I haven't seen that yet.
I don't know that I've seen that. I might have seen it. There's a good chance. I just don't remember.
That's a
Actually,
ventriloquist, right?
yeah, it was. It sounds stupid when you describe it, but you'd have to watch it. I mean, I think it's a really, really, really good, very creepy movie. I do enjoy. When Wes Craven died, I actually wrote an article. It's up. I can send a link to people if they want. But Wes Craven, I grew up with, and to me, in the '80s, he was unfairly lumped in, and maybe let's see if Warpig agrees with me. In the early '80s, when Wes Craven first started making films, I felt like he was unfairly lumped in with slasher picks. But his movies were like Friday the 13th was very popular at the time. There was even that Silent Night, Deadly Night, if you guys remember that. That was a big, huge deal. It was banned from theaters. The slasher genre was huge. I felt like Nightmare on Elm Street and even some of his lesser-known works like My Deadly Friend were lumped in with just, oh, it's just another slasher movie. But I thought he was so much more than that.
See, the first Halloween, the first Friday the 13th, and the first Nightmare on Elm Street were brilliant masterpieces of horror, and their sequels were mainly just cashing in on the name.
I would agree with you on the second one. The second Nightmare on Elm Street was god awful. It's one of the. It's just it's like Rocky IV. I forget. I just take it out of the. I just pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But the last one, Freddy's New Nightmare, where I don't know if anyone has seen that, but that's where the actors play themselves.
I've seen a large part of it, but not the whole thing.
It's so meta. I love it.
Yes, it is. It's so incredibly unique, where their belief in the monster and having played the same characters for so long sort of brings them to life in the actual world, and the actors themselves are then harassed by Freddy. It's unique, and I've never seen anything quite like it.
And Craven actually directed it.
And he actually directed it. Yeah, he came back and he wrote and directed that.
Okay, my two favorite horror movies. Although now that we've dipped back into the '70s, I'm starting to think about putting Chainsaw Massacre on it. But
I wish the mob would get back into funding movies. Then we could have movies like in the '70s again.
I would say The Exorcist.
Yes, excellent. Rosemary's Baby.
And The Ring.
I love The Ring.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yes, I love The Ring.
The Ring was the last time I felt a genuine stab of terror, like fright, when I was watching a movie. It was the first time I saw The Ring. So.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. I think like there are movies out there that aren't necessarily horror movies, but I personally am in love with, and I hate Rob Zombie for what he did to the Halloween franchise, but I love The Devil's Rejects. And my wife, Kate Kay Nels, she said she wasn't right for about a week after watching that movie. I've never been to she watches every horror movie out there, and I've never been to one with her before where about halfway through the movie she literally wanted to leave. She said she couldn't take any more of it.
Well, where else are you going to see a movie where an excuse for carjacking is top secret clown business?
I know, but I'll tell you what. You know what? Two things Rob Zombie got right. The characters in that movie were unique, and they were more than your usual psychopaths, and they were creepy. It's like it reminds me of Wrong Turn, only done better because it was sort of the hillbilly thing, and hillbillies are always scary. And his soundtrack is always incredible.
You know what was also a really good 70s movie? At least I think it was the 70s. I could be wrong. The original, The Hills Have Eyes.
Yes, that was a great movie. Also a horrible remake.
Yeah. Just brutal. Okay, we are out of time. So we'll go around and let everybody say goodbye. Bacon Man, do you have any other suggestions for Halloween besides the awesome movies we've already discussed?
Well, I did want to mention that I'm currently playing a game right now that is last year I played The Evil Within around Halloween, which was a fantastic. I mean, I love survival horror, but if you're looking for a good, unique horror movie right now, Until Dawn cannot be beat. And in fact, if you play the game, inside of the game there are movie posters that are like tributes to horror movies like House of the Devil and Stakeland, and you'll see some other ones. It's very atmospheric, and it's very unique. It's got a butterfly effect system, so all the choices you make have direct consequences. It's worth playing.
And that name again, please?
Until Dawn.
Until Dawn, thank you.
Speaking of survival horror games, it wasn't scary, but I had a lot of fun with Resident Evil Revelations 2.
Oh, yes. Yeah, good one.
Brian, do you have anything tied us out with?
Yeah, since we're on the subject of survival horror, which is a genre I also enjoy, check out Amnesia.
Amnesia: The Dark Descent?
I think so, let's see. Who made that? I don't think that's Chinese Room. Might be Chinese Room. But yeah, it's like there's no combat in it. You're just wandering around this crumbling Prussian castle in search of this alchemist, and you wake up with no memory, and yeah, it's mainly a game of just using your wits. It's really atmospheric.
See, that sounds interesting. We could use another hour.
Dorrinal, any last words?
Thanks for giving me a bunch of great ideas for movies to check out, guys. It's good talking to you as always. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. It's been a great time.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. Big hi to Professor Floor in the audience and everybody else who tuned in. This is Geek Gab episode 29. Happy Halloween. And from me, Bacon Man, Dorrinal, and Brian Niemeier, we will be back.